You getting all this, Teresa?
I feel like I'm a noob and I've been doing the wrong things.
That lottery in particular brought the community together rather than people being angry at each other because I didn't get the release and you got the release and you don't know anything about vinyl and blah, blah, blah.
But surely there was some lessons learned being your first venture.
Dear
Oh my
God.
Hey Toy Family, we're back, and this is the first episode of Season 3 of the Marsham Toy Hour, where we discuss anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
And I'm Teresa Hawkins.
So Teresa, y'all relaxed from the holiday break? We had about a month off. Ready to get back to work?
Not as much as I'd like to be. I kind of want to be back on vacation.
Well, George is doing that for us. He's out there in Florida, kicking up, relaxing at Disney World.
I know, I'm jealous. I want to be there.
Me too.
It was nice to take a few weeks off, go to Florida, visit family. So, yeah. Did you have a good Christmas break?
Yeah, no, I did. I spent most of it taking my two boys to every playground in the Tri-County area for the most part. And but that was fun. And then the other time was just trying to knock off things off of my checklist. Every vacation, as with probably most people, a list of 20 things I wanted to do, and probably only did about 5 of them. But I'll get to it. I'll get around to knocking out those things. But I'm ready to get back to podcasting, Season 3. You ready to do it?
Yeah, for sure.
So for our first episode back, I thought we kind of might take a look back at last year. Maybe try to recall some of the best moments from the year and just wrap it up as best we can, which I'm not even sure is possible because it's all kind of a blur, but we're not going to do it alone. So I did reach out to a couple people to come on and help us. So I've invited back a couple that is really ingrained in the toy scene, and they pretty much, it seems like they have a pulse on everything. So they're responsible for all things Clutter. That includes Clutter Magazine, the Clutter Gallery, the production studio. And as if that wasn't enough, they're also responsible for the annual Designer Toy Awards. And then last year, they introduced 5 Points Festival. So let's welcome back to the show Miranda O'Brien and Josh Kimberg.
Woo, 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 woo.
What's up?
What?
You made me so tired telling us what we do. Oh my God.
Yeah, you really need to step it up.
I'm tired. I need to take a nap now.
So I have a really important question first off, and this is probably for you, Miranda. Why do I have to say 2 last names for a married couple? Why not take the Kimberg name?
Because I'm lazy. That's really the only reason. I didn't change it when we got married.
Because we were hiding.
Because we were hiding it. So,
Okay.
when
we hid that we were married for a year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To protect the unknown.
Well, I moved here when we got married in 2 months or whatever. That was about as long as I was here, right, when we got married. And so when I moved here, I got out of a relationship. I moved home to my parents, and I said, I'm going to live in New York, and kind of left. And so I didn't want them to be like, oh, now I'm married, and just put it all on them, all in one go. So we were like, hey, we'll get married so that I can legally live here because we loved each other and wanted to get married. But we didn't want to scare everybody. So we said, we'll do it in a year and we'll have a real wedding a year later and tell everybody. So then we had an engagement party after we were already married, for which my parents came and everybody came, but we were already married. So we had a big engagement party. And then we got pregnant before we were going to do the whole marriage thing. So then we had to sit my parents down and tell them we were married.
So I plied your father with a 14% mead. Was it mead or was it barley wine?
Yeah, something like that.
I got Mr. O'Brien wasted on barley wine, and I put my arm around him, and I took out this photo album. Yeah. And I said, "Hey, Dad, check this out." And I started flipping through the pages, and it was me and Miranda in Las Vegas getting married at the Little White Wedding Chapel.
Yes. Surprise!
Surprise! And he was like, "Yeah," he was so happy. He was like, "I love you, Josh. You saved me 10,000 pounds."
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
awesome.
We change it when on the wedding certificate. Now I have to do the whole thing of going through the process, and it just takes long. And people know me as O'Brien, so
yeah, exactly. Well, don't feel bad, Josh. My wife hasn't taken on my last name either, and which is pretty understandable given my last name of Ham. Like, who wants to take? I wouldn't want to take that on. I don't even want my last name.
Well, she's kosher, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Usually kosher, but I figure when someone doesn't take a last name, it's usually one of maybe 3 or 4 reasons, right? It's usually the last name's terrible. You don't want to change it, or maybe you think the marriage isn't going to last long enough to bother changing it.
Oh my God.
It's my get out of jail free card.
Or it's just easier to keep your name because you've already established yourself as an artist or a teacher or whatever, and just want to remain that last name instead of going the traditional route and changing it. Or it's just pure laziness, procrastination.
It's laziness. I might hyphenate it, maybe be O'Brien Kimberg.
Oh, there you go.
That's a mouthful, though. The girls want me to change it, so I probably will soon. Yeah.
When we were at DesignerCon, Teresa was introducing me as Gary Ham. My full name to everyone. This is Gary Ham. This is Gary Ham. When you and Josh are together, how do you guys introduce it? Do you say this is Miranda, or do you say Clutter Maz, or do you say Clutter Josh? Like, how do you guys introduce each other?
I think we just say Josh and Miranda, right? It's funny because
she tells me not to speak.
Can you imagine me telling him not to speak? It's almost impossible. It's funny because like Maz was my name for so long that everybody knew me as Maz, and since I moved here, it really just became Miranda, and no one really knows me as Maz apart from if they're like OG people. Then that's all they call me is Maz. So it's funny.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, see, Gary, I didn't know what you were talking about because I'd never heard that.
It's funny.
You never heard Clutter Maz?
Yeah,
okay.
I was Maz forever.
See, I'm OG.
Yeah, you're OG. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm not in that club.
Oh, well, now you are.
Now I know.
And Josh, you're a designer and sculptor, and you work under the name. Okay, clear this up. What name are you working under today?
Okay, I am officially American Gross.
No.
Now you're American Gross, but you used to be Death Chops.
So Death Chops was a concept that I had, but it just felt too dark.
Well, because it worked for like the sofubi releases and the like more kaiju-y looking monster stuff, but then when you make like an octodon, which is like a cute octopus shape, doesn't really. Death Chops made this. We were like struggling with it.
And the reality is that like I'm making a lot of different toys and sculptures and art across a lot of different genres. Yeah. And Death Chops just was
only fits with the one.
Really only fit that. Yeah, it was like, and that's definitely one of my personalities. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Cool Keith. I don't know if you're into rap and hip hop, but he's one of my favorite hip hop artists, and he has like 33 personalities.
Okay.
So if you're into like Dr. Octagon, Dr. Doom, the Black Elves, he's got some artists just have a lot of names. But no, so you can just call me American now.
So he's gonna change his name every 3 months.
No, Peter Cato's mad at me.
We can change the name.
So I changed my name again. So no, I'm not changing it again.
It's annoying because anybody that changes their Instagram handle, number one, should be
it follows it now. It follows you now.
It follows you now. Good.
All right, we got that confusion cleared up.
Yeah.
I'm going for more of an expansive title.
Yeah.
I had because I had an animation company for a long time, and one of my favorite shows that we did was called Pork Chops, and it was about donkey, and a donkey who trafficked in monkey meat and lots of other awesome things. And so the final episode of Pork Chops, he dies. And so it had always been my dream to resurrect him because it was kind of like an unintentional death. We just didn't know how to end the episode, so we just killed everyone. And it wound up being the last episode. So it was like, wow, we killed him. Yeah. So for years after, my company, my animation studio and my friends that ran that and did all those cartoons, I'd been kicking around the idea of like, someday we should do another Pork Chops episode, but we'll resurrect him and it'll be called Death Chops. That's where it came from. So in my mind, and when I changed my Instagram handle to Death Chops and started doing that, I was drawing all these pictures of like a donkey with an eye patch and like a blade in his hand, and he was coming back from the dead and like that. But it just wound up being too dark with half the stuff that we're actually putting out.
Yeah.
So I've caught shit. So I'm sorry, Peter Cato. I'm sorry, Triplicate. I'm sorry, Aaron from Marsham gives me so much shit about it online. And if you call me about it, I'm not going to answer my phone. I'm not going to talk about it. You can talk about other things, but I'm not going to talk about that. So anyone I've said, I apologize.
Oh, I forgive you. But for the listeners, anyone who may not be familiar with American Gross, a couple releases that last year you're probably familiar with was his Octo series, which was American Grocer Josh had designed and sculpted. It was kind of looked like a alien-ish octopus design, which was then double casted inside both Hucky's Blank and the Dunny. So there was the Octo Blank and the Octo Dunny, and it looked great and was fabulous. And it seemed like it did really well for you. It was a quite popular resin series.
People dug it. I mean, we just did a drop, not even like 2 weeks.
Right before Christmas.
It was right before Christmas, right? We did a drop on kidrobot.com.
It was the day you crashed the car because we didn't even promote it online. We didn't even Instagram it. We didn't do anything. We were like, oh, shit, that happened. We missed it. Like, it was a crazy day. So
yeah, I was handcuffed and
oh,
jail.
yeah.
I didn't actually wreck. Somebody hit me and destroyed the car. No, but so we did the Octo Dunny release. We've done 2 colorways of that so far, and then we did 2 colorways of the Octo Blank. They're actually different sculpts, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
And then I also did the Mothman Night Owl Bedtime Bunny.
I had no idea that you were the actual sculptor.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. He went to school for sculpture.
Yeah.
So
I just learn something new every day. See, I think I know stuff and don't.
And I've got a new piece that I'm working on in the same vein that I'm excited about, which will probably show people in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
You guys are weird. Like I mentioned in the intro, that you guys wear multiple hats. I mean, I don't know how many different things that you guys have running all at the same time. Like, what is your official title? I mean, it sounds like you guys would be something like out of Game of Thrones. Miranda, House of Clutter.
Yeah.
Lordess of the DTAs. That sort of thing. Like, what titles do you guys give yourselves?
Have a crazy title? Because I do have a crazy title in my email.
You do?
Yeah.
What does it say? Psycho-astrophysicist?
No, I'm the astropsychophysicist of Clutter.
Oh, jeez.
I don't think I have one anymore. I just usually call myself like the boss or something.
The
now
boss.
It's like I'm just the boss. Just call me the boss. Because
how do you juggle your time? You got so many like pans going on at the same time.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's always too much to do and never enough time.
We need more alcohol to have this conversation.
Never enough people to help either.
Yeah, I mean, we see that it breaks down into like two main realms. There's the studio that's creating toys and sculptures, and that's tied to the gallery and the work that we do with different artists and the different intellectual property that we're creating and working with artists to create. And then there's the realm of the magazine and the Designer Toy Awards and the festival.
Right.
And that's how I see it. Is that there's in my mind I conceive of it as 2 realms, so I don't lose my mind.
What did we used to call it? The multi-headed
Hydra.
Hydra. Yeah.
But we killed one of the main heads of the Hydra this past year.
Yeah, it's really difficult when you have all those plates spinning to keep them all spinning consistently. Which will probably be anybody's biggest complaint about us is the consistency, like the lack of consistency across the board in what we do, because it's hard to focus on the magazine and product and festivals and like everything all at the same time. So inevitably something gives a little.
And being a mom, you just gave birth to your 3rd child just last year.
Yeah, he turns 1 tomorrow actually. So
oh wow.
Yeah, so that also makes it a very difficult year when you have a tiny baby like that. It's getting easy because it's a year old now, but that year transition is really difficult. And we birthed a baby in a festival, and that was crazy.
I don't know how you did it, honestly. It's mind-boggling.
And then as a business, you kind of have to go, well, what's supporting the business here? So that also drives what you focus on a day-to-day basis. Print's really difficult, so that's probably
You mean the magazine?
Yeah, the print
magazine.
magazine. Well, yes, yeah. So that's probably the thing that suffers the most, because getting support for that is probably the hardest, even though everybody wants that to be leading force, because there really aren't any other print magazines anymore. Yeah. So it's difficult, but that's our kind of core of what we do is education, I would say.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And that's why I wanted you guys have you on the show, because you run the magazines, you run the ETAs, and I figured, do you guys remember anything about 2017, or is it a blur to you like it is now?
It's a crazy blur. I mean, the last time we saw you was probably Decon, and that seems like that was like years ago now.
I know. And you got the whole pregnancy brain going on, so I don't expect you to remember much. But Josh, how much do you remember about last year?
So
for me, I mean, I think the biggest trend of the whole year was the rise of sofubi.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think the thing that for me dominated most of the activity that I saw, and that's what we see going into 2018 as well.
We saw that at 5 points too, though. Like surprisingly,
that's where the major excitement seems to lie.
Yeah.
So when I look back at 2017, I remember those kinds of drops pushing the most excitement.
Right. I mean, so like you're right on that, because there were so many soft vinyl releases last year. I mean, Asia just seemed to have this new.
Yes.
I don't know. What was going on in Asia last year was just astronomical. Constant lotteries, constant releases. You couldn't even stay on top of it.
I was on the phone last night with Datadub.
Yeah,
Don the man, and just talking about how, from a certain perspective too, it's not even so much about sofubi, it's about soft vinyl, because the rise of Chinese soft vinyl is not necessarily accepted, but it's being coveted in its own way.
Well, I was going to say that it is being accepted now, because it wasn't accepted and it wasn't acceptable, and now it is accepted and it is acceptable, and the artists that strictly would only work in sofubi are now working in soft vinyl too, because all the factories got jammed up in Japan, and the only way they could get product was to go to China. So
I wouldn't give it 100% pass.
No, sure.
But I would give it like a rising 75%.
Yeah, there's been some good and some bad out of China.
I mean, so for the listeners, let me try to. What I think what you're trying to say is that sofubi is it's a vinyl that's in a process that's only done out of Japan, and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing today is actually soft vinyl out of China. And there was a period of time where a lot of companies and toys were also. They were kind of being passed off as a sofubi product, and they weren't actually being upfront that it wasn't. But today it seems like soft vinyl is a lot more acceptable.
I think it's just important to not misname or mislead people. I think that a lot of the problems that we saw over the last 18 months, 2 years, with people trying to sort of say, "Oh, this is sofubi," and it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's soft vinyl. It's awesome. It's great. Don't call it sofubi.
And not everything works in sofubi.
And you don't need it. And you don't need it to be. You don't have to lie. If it's great, it's great. And you buy what you like. And that's awesome. And that's the basis of collecting and everything that we do. But just don't lie.
Right.
Don't mislead people. If it's not
wait a minute.
Made in Japan, don't say it was made in Japan.
Yes.
So
you getting all this, Teresa?
Okay, I've got a question.
Do this. Let's break it down, Teresa.
I feel like I'm a noob and I've been doing the wrong things. So is sofubi only synonymous with Japanese made?
You are correct.
So sofubi and soft vinyl are not synonyms.
Correct.
They are
not.
I did not know this.
Champagne only comes from the region of Champagne.
Exactly.
If it comes from anywhere else, it's sparkling wine.
I feel so enlightened. So how do I know what I have?
And you know what, Teresa? Asti Spumante is fucking awesome when you're wasted, and it's not fucking champagne.
Right.
It's goddamn cheap Italian sparkling wine.
If it's sofubi, it will be stamped Japan somewhere on it.
Yeah.
Not everything works in sofubi. You can't pull every design in sofubi. A lot of it doesn't. It's very specific.
And there's technical differences.
Yep.
And it really depends on the factory, because it's possible to produce things the way it's produced in Japan elsewhere, but also a lot of times the stuff that's coming out of China really isn't produced the same way.
Right.
I just seriously had no idea. I'm literally standing at a shelf right now and flipping all my toys over here.
Yeah, Teresa, the majority of your stuff is soft vinyl.
That's what I was thinking. Sofubi. Now, is your whooper sofubi, Gary?
That is sofubi.
Okay. But I think you're right, Gary. Majority of what I have that in my head I was thinking was sofubi is in reality actually just soft vinyl.
Right.
Yeah, when I think about your collection, I'm picturing Instinct Toy, Unbox.
You see, it's grey, though. There's a lot of grey there, and we even struggle with it, especially like Instinct Toy. Like some of it's sofubi and some of it isn't, and we get into trouble sometimes with the Designer Toy Awards when we're trying to work out what falls into what category. There's been cases where things have fallen into the wrong category because sometimes it's so hard to tell now. And even with a team of people that all sit around scratching their heads trying to categorize things, we can still get it wrong. And we'll ask the manufacturers, we'll ask the artists, and we can, it's difficult. It is more difficult now.
But
yeah, no.
Don't feel bad, Teresa, because there were a number of manufacturers over the last couple of years that didn't want you to know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I personally, I'm like flipping around. So like I have the fluffy Nagora from Konatsu, and like I flipped over, it says made in Japan. So in my head, that's probably sofubi.
That is soft.
Yep.
But like when I compare it to like my Elfies from Unbox, which more than likely are soft vinyl, personally, I can't really tell a difference. And maybe that's the point. But what should I be noticing? Like what's different?
It doesn't. You know what? It's whatever you like. It's whatever you like. If because I'll tell it. I don't think it's. Back me up.
Yeah.
If you're collecting to love your collection, it doesn't matter what you buy.
Right.
If you're a purist and you're collecting for those reasons, then you'll go down that road and figure that out.
I gotcha. Oh man, so even Chima Group is sofubi. Man, I feel so. I'm literally like learning so much. I'm going through my shelves and I feel so smart now.
The shapes of the toys, the way they're jointed, there's all kinds of giveaways in the toys.
If you want to get into the difference between slush casting and roto molding. Yes. And we can, break down like how things are jointed for slush casting and how things are jointed for rotomolding and what's possible in terms of the tolerances. And, there's just a lot that goes into, and we're not even we're not even experts on it, but we know more than the average bear about it.
Yeah, this is intriguing. So it's both about
experts, but there are people who know way more than us.
Yeah. We're not standing in bio.
Exactly.
But so it's not just a combination of the fact that it's made in Japan, but it's also the actual process used to create.
Yes.
Everything that you would call sofubi was made by hand, and it's slush cast. So that means that a person stood there and made each piece of that toy by hand. Whereas most of what's being made in China is loaded into an oven and rotationally spun and pulled, and it's touched by human hands, but it requires a lower degree of expertise to execute.
Gary, I don't want to bore, but I really want to know what slush cast is.
I know, it sounds like something that makes Slurpees.
Yeah, basically, in a nutshell, you pour the vinyl in, you pour the vinyl out. That's how you slush cast it. Like you pour it in, you stir it around, you pour it out again. You slush out the waste, right?
It's not waste
because you can reuse it, but you slush it out. That's the slush.
Okay.
Cast.
Imagine you're making donuts, and you're putting the donuts into the oil, and you're taking the donuts out of the oil, as opposed to it being made by a machine and being stamped out of a machine. If
you're hand making donuts as opposed to putting them in a factory assembly line and coming down.
Right.
Okay. I guess. It's not. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I find that baking analogies work really well for making, because a lot of it's all the love that goes into making something, and then you cook it, and then it either works or it doesn't work, and then you can ice it and kind of fix it, or you can't.
It's so hard doing this over audio. I'm sure it's just driving some people nuts. But Teresa, I'll send you some videos. I'll show you the differences.
Yeah.
Well, I think like Stick Up Monsters, who's making the and I'm gonna fail. It's the little cats.
the one in Echoes.
Javier.
Yeah, Javier Jimenez.
His he's been sharing some process videos of them making his different characters. I believe that's the sofubi slush casting. Am I right, Gary?
Yeah. His cats are now only being done in sofubi, he said. And yeah, and those videos are coming from Science Patrols. If you want to look it up on Instagram, it's science_patrols.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And then China, it depends on the level of harder they put in, basically, to make the plastic softer or harder.
Well, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all vinyl.
Yeah, right. But talking about Unbox, they now have a factory in Japan. So just to make it even more confusing.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Even more,
yeah, this is all getting confusing.
It all blends into one.
Yeah, and then the difference between the term rotomolding and rotocasting is, rotomolding is when you have a hard mold and you're pulling a soft material out of a hard mold. And rotocasting is when you have a soft mold and you're pulling a hard material out of a soft mold.
Okay, that makes sense.
We're doing a great job covering 2017. But no, I agree with you, Josh, in the fact that, it does seem a lot of the releases, we were trying to nail it down. Like, what's one thing that could describe 2017? Is it pins? Is it VAG series? Is it sofubi or soft vinyl or licensed toys? And I think you're right. I mean, it just comes down to all of the toys coming out of Asia, whether it was sofubi or soft vinyl.
Well, and if you remember, Gary, like we would, because we always bounce back and forth things we see, and I remember distinctly, like, not just the amount of sofubi, but the amount of colorways. Like, do you remember how often we'd see another clear colorway or a glitter colorway or a glitter clear colorway, or like all the time we were like, oh my gosh, there's another one. It's like, not only were they making them, they were making an enormous amount of colorways too.
But it's a flipped model to the historical model of designer toys, because designer toys used to be, you 500 pieces or 300 pieces was considered quite limited at the beginning. And now those pieces that you're talking about may have extended versions colorways, but they're only 25, 50 pieces. So it's like a flipped
that's a good
model.
point. Yeah. No, that's
I'm getting to the point where I almost don't want to jump in on anything, because I feel like in 1 or 2 weeks I just sit and there's going to be like the ice cream dinos. How many ice cream dinos have there been in the last, 4 or 5 months? And I feel like, is this the colorway that I'm going to pull the trigger on, or is there going to be another amazing colorway released in another 2 weeks? I just never know when to pull the trigger. But you're right. I mean, there's so many releases. And just, you want to talk about how do you what would you call marbling and glitter? Is that a treatment? Or is that a type of style? Like, how do you, an effect?
It's a good question.
I would call it a colorway.
I'd call it a colorway too, I guess.
No, but it's not a colorway.
No,
but it is. I mean, in a way.
The same process as changing the color of the vinyl, like adding glitter.
You're saying that it's glitter, it's painted glitter, or it's glitter in the vinyl?
No, when it's glitter in the vinyl, like when you call the factory, you don't just tell them I want another. You're actually telling them you want to add glitter, or you want the marbling effect. I mean, I would say it's more of an effect than like just in the colorway, because it's actually in the vinyl itself.
Right. I guess so.
I don't know.
So is the color, though. It's like, definitely marbling is like a technique, right? So that's.
Yeah, I think people would still probably refer to it as a colorway, Gary, even though it's not technically a color. But I would consider if I had 3 of the same toy and one was blue, one was clear, and one was glitter, I'd probably call those 3 different colorways, even though that doesn't maybe make sense, but it makes sense.
There was a lot of clear and a lot of glitter in 2017.
Yeah,
for sure.
But that's because the rise of the sofubi and the soft vinyl. You can't, that's really the only thing you can do clear and glitter in like that.
Well, I'm gender fluid, so I really like all the glitter and the marble, and it just really expresses my inner little girl. I'm all about it. Like, you just can't have enough.
That's cool. There's a lot of experimentation going on.
That's a sofubi.
Yeah, I was just going to say, most of the artists that work in that genre are arcing back to the heyday of that genre. They'll pick paint jobs that arc back to original sofubi and kaiju figures. So, it's not that they're necessarily creating a new, it's that usually they're looking backwards and recreating it. I think what's interesting is what you were saying about the rise of the Asian market. I always see that as a good sign because, historically there's been waves of collectors and the design toy industry goes up and it goes down. And the fluctuations are usually, you see them in Asia first. You get like these giant market bubbles and then the bubble kind of bursts a little bit. But the Western side of it then picks up and the market in America grows because that's where it started.
Right.
It started over in Asia and then it moved over here and the Asian market kind of died down a little bit and there was a boom and then it's kind of gone back and forth over the years. You can watch that wave go back and forth. So the fact that that's booming over there for the last year or so gives me great hope that the next year and the year after here will be even better.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like we're in a relay race. We're just running the track, passing the baton back and forth. But right now, I mean, running hard and fast this leg of the race, the baton is definitely in Asia's hands. And, speaking of Asia again, like one of the things I definitely noticed last year was throughout a lot of the Asian releases was the prevalence of lotteries and the way the lottery system is being used to gain the right to then purchase a toy. It seems like most of the releases, Teresa, would you say most of the releases you bought were through lottery?
For me to be able to buy them, it depends. Some stuff like the Vinyl Artist Gotcha series is a little different, right? That's becoming a little easier for us to get stuff like that. But when it comes to like Inu Haragon, like Teresa Chiba's toy, and Hikaru Bambi, and even Instinct Toy and some of that, yes. Like the only way I've been able to obtain some of that stuff lately has been through stuff like lottery. So I think it depends, but it definitely seems like not only they're opening more lotteries, but they're being like, I'm finding more international lotteries that I can enter in to give me a chance to get stuff, which has been really nice. Yeah. Even like that, remember that space guy we were talking about before we went on break, that
the Gumtara one?
Yeah, like even that we came across. And so it does seem like there's more and more ways, especially through like Instagram, even like people posting there and you just shoot over an email. And it does seem like it's becoming a bigger thing.
Are you talking about things that are sofubi and kaiju releases? Or are you talking about regular vinyl releases?
Both. Honestly, sometimes you don't even know if it's sofubi or soft vinyl, but it just seems like it's primarily only with Asia releases. I mean, it could be Unbox, Instinct, or just an individual artist selling toys. A lot of them coming out of Hong Kong, so those are going to be soft vinyl, I assume. But it seems like just to buy to get the rights to buy those toys, you have to enter some sort of email lottery, and then they'll let you know if you can make that purchase. And it's even that way with artists I've never even heard of. Their first toy released ever is being done through a lottery system as well.
Yeah, that is that world. There's lots of different reasons for it. I guess everyone has their own reason for it.
But you're calling out that that trend is starting to dominate a lot of different areas, and
people trying to jump on that lottery bandwagon, I guess.
And we can discuss the reasons for lottery and why. Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but then it also can feel
it's supposed to be a fairer
exclusive
way. Yeah, it's supposed to make it fairer to get the toys and make it so it's not so exclusive to the people that are in the know.
It can level the playing field, and it can also make it even more exclusive.
Exactly.
Because you got to
depending
on
who they are.
You got to put in the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it in certain cases making sense. In some cases where maybe it's a newer toy and you don't know how popular it can be, it's hard. It's a mix. I mean, I've bought in a variety of ways, right? Like I've set an alarm to wake up at 3 a.m. to get on a website and F5 it and try to get a thing. And I've sent emails. You do kind of it all. So I've kind of done it all. So I'm kind of used to it, but I get the idea of it. I mean, if it's something that you expect there to be thousands and thousands of people interested and you only have 100, I mean, I can see that it helps make it a little easier, but I could kind of say that there's pros and cons to all the different approaches.
I see it's the only fair way because going back to what I said before, that most people are making 25, 50, even 100 pieces of something. Most artists or even manufacturers can't afford a website that can handle that traffic of that many people. Say you have 50 pieces. Yeah. So you have 50 pieces and you have 300 people trying to buy it all at the same time. Most people can't afford a website that can deal with that, or it'll go into everybody's cart and everyone will fight about it. And then
from well, okay, from a technical perspective,
yeah.
Right.
From a technical point and from a collective point, it doesn't work either.
But as someone who sells sofubi, creates, those that kind of creates, neo kaiju.
Right.
The argument also goes that they've put their hard work into creating that toy.
Yeah.
And they don't want other people profiting off of the sales of those toys. So if somebody could walk in and buy 20 of them and then go sell 19 of them on eBay for more money, they're capitalizing on that person's market. So the other side of the lottery system is not just to make it fair to the collector, it's to make it fair to the artist so that their work isn't being sold on a secondary market.
What I thought was really cool at 5 Points was watching Instinct Toy run their lotteries, because they were probably the most popular thing at 5 Points. Like the crowd around their releases was insane.
They dominated, but also the Mutant Vinyl Hardcore release was
sure. Both releases were exciting to watch. What was really exciting about Instinct Toy was they made it like a theatrical experience. Like it was an event. Just to watch them do the lottery was like really cool. It was like an experience just to be there. And I thought that was a really nice way to, take toy buying to the next level and bringing the people around into that experience.
Yeah, no, I was there. I was with the wristband participating, trying to win something for a friend. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It was really fun. Like it was exciting and everyone was cheering and
I felt like that lottery in particular brought the community together rather than people being angry at each other because I didn't get the release and you got the release and you don't know anything about vinyl and blah blah blah. Like you get it, those things. That's wasn't like that. The crowd there were really like supporting each other. It was really nice.
No. Right. We would cheer, like everyone would be so excited when someone won and everyone would be cheering, watching them walk up. Yeah, it was super fun. But I totally get what you're saying. I mean, it completely makes sense to both make it a fair playing field for those buying and keep it fair for the artist. So, and honestly, like I'm all for a lottery. If it means there's a window to shoot an email over a couple days and I can just shoot it when I can and not have to wake up at 3 a.m, stressing, pressing a million buttons, trying to check out as fast as I can to hopefully get this thing I want. I mean, it's definitely less stressful of a process.
Does it take that excitement though? Like, does that excitement of sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning, like pressing, and getting it? Like, does it take that away? Is the question, I guess, because there's something to be said about that too.
Yeah, it's a different kind of excitement, right? Like, there's the rush of being in the moment, but there's also a lot of stress with it too. Right. So, I mean, there's still like that level of like, I've submitted my email and I'm waiting and have they sent them out yet? And am I going to get one? And did I win? And it's still exciting when you get the email that you won. So I think there's still a level of excitement there. It's just a different way of experience it, but it's kind of nice to not necessarily deal with all the stress of, trying to obtain something. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, how much it sticks around and how much it permeates. And, I know Unbox did some for DesignerCon this year to try to help let some people obtain pieces. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues and if more and more people keep adopting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another trend was pre-orders. So a lot of companies are now, instead of fully funding something up front, they're kind of helping, subsidize some of the production manufacturing costs and all that by doing pre-orders early, and then you might receive the toy 6 or 9 months down the road. I mean, I really noticed that was a lot more toys being released through pre-order.
Yeah, I think that's been happening for the past, few years though. And when the market's the way it is, that's really the only way as a production company you can succeed now. Gone are the days when you can make 500 pieces and sell them in an hour. Talk to any of the toy stores and talk to any of the manufacturers. The market just isn't there for it now. So, you want to invest in all this awesome new product, you have to make sure that you can release the next one after that too. So, pre-orders are great for that, finding that the market's there.
Now, with the pre-order system having been around for several years now, I mean, do you think that collectors are still really anxious and supportive of a pre-order product where you pay something, sometimes a large amount of money, and you have to wait 6 to 9 months? Do you think that's sort of dying out? Especially with there's so many releases coming out now, I certainly don't want to drop $150 or $300 on something and then another amazing release pops up and I can't buy that, but that one's readily available now. But instead, my money went towards something I had to sit 9 months for. I mean, do you think the collectors still like the pre-order system, or is it dying out at all?
I don't think I like it. I don't think anybody likes it really. But unless the market's stronger, you're not going to be able to avoid having a pre-order system on things. I mean, the one that is there is 3.0. 3A with Ashley Wood. All their stuff's pre-order, and it's a really long turnaround. Yeah,
6 months.
Yeah, but the toy's great in the end, so everyone's happy. It's difficult. Yeah, but it's really difficult. I understand why collectors don't like it, but until the situation gets better in the market, I just can't see it changing. I really can't.
Yeah, I totally get the need for it, but as a collector, I'll tell you it's painful. Oh. I think it's painful for a variety of reasons, because sometimes, honestly, there's a toy I pre-order and I forget. And 6 months later, I get this box and I'm like, what is this? And I open it. I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot I bought that thing. And sometimes your tastes have changed and maybe you're not as into it or time has passed. And the other times, though, it's the opposite. It could be a super happy surprise. But I think usually for me, I'm just impatient. So it's the wait that's kind of painful, because, you want it now. You want it.
It's super frustrating. It also makes it really difficult for the Designer Toy Awards too, because you look for the dates of when things were released and you're like, oh yeah, that fits in, but then it doesn't come out for another year, so it pushes it to the next year.
so as far as an award, it only counts when it's in the people's hands, not at the time of pre-order.
Exactly. So that's
wow.
That's been a stumbling block a few times.
That's way too much research.
Yeah, it's difficult because it's hard to find the times and the dates sometimes too. You can find when it was put on sale, but you can't necessarily find when it shipped. So it's fun.
Do you all keep a giant? So when we were trying to think through, before this episode, we were like, it's really hard to remember everything that released in a year. It's a lot. And so we were like, man, who does anyone keep track of that? Do you all have for the DTA some kind of tracking system as the year goes on to help know and remember stuff?
I wish we did, because it would make life much easier. We rely on people putting in their nominations. And, when people get upset that they weren't nominated, it's like, well, you have to put your releases in there. Someone has to put your release in there. So we do spend so many hours putting in as many things as we can think of and find after the fact. But, I don't know what the system is for that, but there should be one. I agree.
There should be. And I totally respect what you guys are doing now, because I think what she was talking about, Miranda, is that we're putting together the Marshamie Awards. And it's been a challenge and a struggle kind of figuring out what was released all throughout last year. But, our awards are nothing like yours. Ours are just stupid. They're silly, and they're not meant to be taken serious in any way. There's nothing. It's nothing like the Designer Toy Awards, where people are going to be receiving an amazing Pete Fowler Award, and they're going to be proud of what they achieved and accomplished. No, ours are almost the exact opposite of that. It's been a lot of fun coming up with the categories and stuff. But with saying that, I think our biggest struggle is, as we've been having fun with the awards, and it sounds like a great idea, but then the challenge of it is we're only an audio podcast, right? So it's not going to be that interesting visually. It's, no one's going to be coming up and accepting their awards. So I think when it comes time to do the awards, all this time and effort that we've been putting into it, it's just going to only end up being 5 minutes, because we don't end up being boring.
Well, we're excited to hear what the categories are. Sounds awesome.
They're not stupid. They're silly.
Well, yeah, they are silly. I mean, they're lighthearted fun, but we actually haven't narrowed down exactly which direction we're going either. Have you guys ever heard of the Dundie Awards on The Office?
Yeah.
So some of them are kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then some others are kind of more like the MTV Awards, where it might be Best Dressed Toy, Best Dressed Artist, Best Hair in a Toy, Best Hair in an Artist.
Right.
And, but then some of the other categories might be like Best Bromance, or or I'll give you an example of another one's like Best Package, or maybe like Largest Package in a toy. Whoa. Or something like that.
Biggest package?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe. Another one is Best Moves on a toy.
That's a good one. We've thought about doing Razzie style awards, and every time we've gone down that hole, it's we'd be like, we can't do
Person
that.
who's asked to win an award the most times.
I would love to hear that.
An award for asking.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean though, because some of the ones, especially some of the Dundee ones that we're coming up with, like they're almost inside joke-ish. It's like some of the Dundee ones are like best rant award, or another one is forget knowing names. I just call everyone dude award. So those are an example of a few of the more Dundee type ones, but I don't think artists in general have a sense of humor for it.
Most people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, we were gonna do. Ours was called Toy Fail.
Oh, we were gonna do a website. That was years ago. We were gonna do a website called Toy Fail, and it was really for all the toys that didn't stand up. That was because we had so many toys that fell down.
That's good.
We were like,
That's good.
All these toys. Let's start another blog called Toy Fail, and we'll just post the ones that fall down. And then we were like, we can't do that. That's not going to go down well.
Like, no one's going to think this is funny. People are going to be pissed.
We designed,
but it's so true.
Do you guys mind if we use the best toy that doesn't stand up award?
Please.
Yeah.
Awesome. Toy Fail.
Toy Fail.
I'll add it. Toy Fail.
Toy Fail.
I'll add it to the doc.
And if you want, I'll send you our list.
yeah. Any help we can get.
Oh, you know which one I can call out because it's just been so long. The Snores.
Oh yeah, the Snores.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
That's the big Snores. It has fallen over so many times. There's no paint left on its head, on the top of the head.
Oh man,
it's bad.
And I love that. And and that's the thing when you come into our gallery, the Snores is up top with all the big toys that are on top of the shelves. And it's upside down. Yeah. It's been sitting on its head for probably 6 years now.
Yeah.
Because it can't stand on
And
its
you know
legs.
what's funny? We argue about whose Snores that is because we both have a Snores.
It's definitely my Snores.
You keep saying, well, why the fuck is my Snores?
I think you left it.
No, I didn't leave it in England.
I think your first husband kept it.
No, I didn't leave it in England.
That's funny. We were just talking about what happens when married couples collections joins forces. But also, George was saying that he bought a Snores on the secondhand market, like at some fire sale somewhere, and he was saying his doesn't stand up.
They don't stand up. They don't stand up.
Not one.
Well, remember, Gary, it's not like they've solved it completely, considering my latest mail day.
You just sent me that video over the weekend, and it was ridiculous. We should probably mention that one in some future review.
Man, I mean.
Oh yeah, well, that vinyl, it gets hot and it bends and they all fall down.
Well, speaking of falling down, let's get picked up with some sponsors. So the Marsham Toy Hour has some awesome sponsors. So whether you collect sofubi or soft vinyl or western vinyl or whatever pins, whatever your thing is, we got some awesome stores to visit. There's 3dretro.com, and 3D Retro is also located out there in Burbank adjacent beautiful Southern California, so pop on by if you're in the area. And there's also strangeCatToys.com. If you use promo code DOPE at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your entire order. You can't beat that. And to stay on top of news and releases, be sure to follow and visit SpankyStokes.com and TheToyChronicle.com. And if apps are your thing, be sure to download the Toy Chronicle app at your favorite app store. And if you would like to become a sponsor of the show, or you just have questions, comments, or any suggestions for future segments, we would love to hear from you. You can email us at marshamtoyhour@gmail.com, or give us a call and leave us a message at 480-420-9823. And we also have a Marsham community on Facebook. So join us at, just search Marsham Toy Hour on Facebook. It's the stomping ground, and that's usually where we carry on the conversation of what we discussed that week and have general fun and questions throughout the week. So give us a join, Marsham Toy Hour on Facebook. All right, let's get back to it. Well, let's talk about the best thing that happened last year. And I'm going to say, and I believe Teresa will agree, was 5 Points Festival.
Woo! I did not see that coming.
No, I'm serious. Like, as a first-year event, I went to it knowing it was going to be cool. I mean, you guys are behind it and it has awesome backing, but I did not expect it to be as awesome as it was. Like, it really exceeded all expectations, and that's not just coming from me. I mean, I heard that from every vendor that was there and exhibitors. Like, everyone just thought it was an amazing event, so congrats on that.
Thank you so much. It outdid our expectations too. It was awesome. I think that everyone's been waiting for a new home in New York, so the event was just, everyone was waiting for it, so they were like, yay, an event in New York, and everyone jumped on it, and it
wasn't broken.
No,
it worked.
Yeah,
like nothing about it was you know what I mean? So we were able to kind of slide into that piece, that spot that was open in people's hearts.
Right.
But surely there was some lessons learned being your first venture.
Dear
Oh my
God.
Want to tell us some? The trials and tribulations of running out in an event.
I'll say this one thing this way.
Yeah.
We thought we were going somewhere. We thought we were going to a venue that did not have a union
problem. A union problem.
Like
the Javits. Like if anyone's ever exhibited at New York Comic Con, they know the woes that is the Javits Center and the Union of New York. Like
and the way you can get like just mistreated by a union.
Yeah.
And you know, the venue in the end that we used last year, there were so many hidden union problems that we kind of walked away going like, wow, that was messed
crazy.
up.
Yeah. I mean, that venue was amazing. We loved that venue and we would have liked to have gone back this year, but it was exorbitant. Like
it wound up, there were so many hidden fees.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, the rent went
no, don't.
You don't want me to?
I don't know. I don't think it's. Let's just say that it cost double.
It was more than double.
It was more than double the
estimated cost of the venue.
That was a big problem.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah, for sure.
And so start with a big number because you're renting in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Then double it.
Yeah. And then add some more on the top.
Yeah.
Wow. And this is all coming after the fact too. Like you've already planned estimated what the booth pricing was going to be, the attendee pricing. This is afterwards.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And then it's not quite happening afterwards. It's sort of like it's happening as like you're flying into a mountain because the event has to happen.
Right.
So as you're getting closer and closer to the event and they're opening doors and revealing hidden fees, you're just kind of having to go like, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, because I guess, you know, this is going to happen.
And it's funny that we already knew that we were going to run into some of those hidden fees because we'd been warned later on in the process by some other people that had used that venue. So we were aware of some of them, and then there were others that just like, oh my God, what?
I mean, the one number that I love telling people that I think it's fair to say is the reason that we didn't have a DJ was because they wanted $2,500 to plug in the turntable. They wanted $2,500 for an electrician, for a union electrician to plug in the turntable. And then $2,500 on Sunday for the union electrician to come in and unplug.
Oh my gosh!
Wasn't it double on Sunday because it was double time?
Well, yeah, it was. But it was $5,000 to plug
for a DJ.
Not even for the DJ. Not even for the DJ.
No, just to plug it in.
Plug in the turntable. So
that's ridiculous.
But it was free for us to have a playlist.
Yes.
We were.
Oh, that's very generous.
So we were allowed to pipe through the existing speaker system for free.
Oh my gosh! I mean, Tesla himself wouldn't charge that much to plug something in. But I'm sorry. I mean, you have to deal with this sort of stuff. But you know, you'll be changing venues next year, so it probably won't be as bad, I guess.
Yes, we're going to be at the Brooklyn Expo
Center this year.
Yeah.
Non-union?
No, because it's Brooklyn.
So there's no union. No union.
I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to Brooklyn, so I'm actually really looking forward to this.
It's beautiful.
Good. It's a good spot.
Beautiful space.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
It has the same indoor-outdoor vibe, and it has nice bathrooms.
It has gorgeous bathrooms, and also it's all windows.
Yeah, it is.
It's nice. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. So
honestly, it sounds way too classy for us.
We'll fuck it up. Don't worry.
You know, Teresa and I were talking about designer toy people, and if you were dating one, what would your parents think when you brought them home?
Oh my God, it's the my favorite thing is always the adult toy thing. You know, the toys for adults. That seems to have gone away a little bit. Nobody really uses that term anymore. Thank God, because it's just awful.
Yeah.
I remember when I was back in England, one of my neighbors told my other neighbor that I worked with adult toys, so they thought that I threw these sex parties and this whole rumor went around. Such a bad term, adult toys.
Adult toys.
That's actually a Marshamie category.
Yeah.
I think it's something like the artist that has more adult toys than designer toys award.
Right. Yes, that's good. Yeah, exactly.
We're still taking nominees for that category. If you guys want to self-nominate yourself.
There's some really cool stuff in our collection that everyone comes in and thinks they're adult toys.
Oh, because of Carlos and Ricky Gonzalez pieces. Yeah. You know, we have a lot of vaginas and penises from him. So.
Oh gosh.
We actually have. I love Carlos as a person, and I'm a huge fan of his work. I was a fan before I was a friend. And when have you seen his work?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But Teresa, you should Google search Carlos Enriquez Gonzalez toys.
You should Google that, Teresa. You should Google the Hierophany. So we have like a really awesome collection of Hierophanes and a bunch of the fiberglass stuff that Carlos does and a number of things from him. And I think on his second or third trip to the gallery, he brought us one of the penis counterparts to the Hierophany. Yeah. And the awesome story behind it is that the first time he brought one to a gallery show, he had them pulled in black in sofubi, and it's a penis on legs. And he brought it out at this gallery opening, and someone used the D word. They called it a dildo. And he got so upset that he killed the whole run, and they were never made. So we only had these 3 black penis prototypes. And he brought one the last time he came to the U.S. So we have, I think it's the only one in the U.S.
I think that area of the collection is the most talked about and looked at. Everyone comes, they bring their friends to the next gallery show just to show them the vagina toys. It's like... Yeah.
Really it doesn't get old.
No.
It does.
We walk in there like, oh, vaginas.
Yeah.
Teresa, don't look it up, but I think the best way to describe it would just imagine a vagina with legs and arms, or a penis with legs and arms. You know, that's kind of what some of his stuff would look like.
Yeah, sounds totally like me.
He would not agree with that definition.
No.
Right, but as a novice, that's how I would describe it.
Exactly.
That's what you see. Exactly. And that's the crux of a lot of the arguments around his work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would there'd be one thing, right, to bring someone in from the designer toy community to meet my mother, but another to have toys like that around my house. It'd be interesting to explain myself. I have a very traditional mother. My parents are very old school.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't start collecting stuff that you have to put in the closet when the parents come over.
Yeah, I don't know. One day, Gary, maybe I'll surprise myself. Who knows? But
there you go.
Right now, I keep it pretty G and PG rated around here.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think of you as primarily like just a cute or kawaii type collector, but I think last year you got a little more sophisticated of a toy collecting palette. Now you started branching out
a little bit. Yeah, well, I mean, there are times I know I've shared stuff, and you're like, "You like that?" And I'm like, "I know, I don't know why." And you're like, "Man, this is gonna get dangerous because if you start opening the doors,
oh yeah,
you know,
it's a whole new thing.
Yeah,
it's gonna gets dangerous, right? You know,
yeah.
I mean." All the time, Gary and I talk about how, like, I feel like I know a lot about designer toys, but mostly in the sector that I collect. So taste that I really understand, but there's a whole other sectors out there that I've just not delved into, or I don't understand fully, or they're not to my taste. So, like, I know there's plenty more out there. So if I start opening the gates to, like, explore one other area, man, I already have plenty around here, but I could sure add to it.
Yeah. So what else? What else was a memorable or maybe like a shocking moment of last year?
Oh,
what about Huck leaving?
Oh, yeah.
Huck. That seemed to have shocked the community quite a bit.
Yeah, but Huck's never going to go away. Come on, we all knew it was going to come back. Sometimes you just have to be like, yo, I have to take a break. And these are the reasons why. And, you know, you need to get that off your chest a little bit. So I think you need to get that off his chest too. Right?
Yeah, and that's understandable. I mean, I remember him saying that he's shuttering the doors and just couldn't make it work as a full-time gig anymore. And that's totally understandable. And I know a lot of people saying that he retired, but I don't really remember Huck ever saying or writing that he's retiring. It's just, you know, maybe the full-time toy side is a done deal, and he's moving on to find other design avenues to lend his talents and skill set to. But, well, it seems like he's coming back, though. I think it was Christmas Eve. I was ToyChronicle.com had done some sleuthing around, and they found out that on HuckG.com there was some sort of cryptic message and a countdown alluding to a potential new company called Super Plastic. And it's going to be the ex-founder of Kid Robot and HuckG working on something together. And the company's called Super Plastic. You can go to superplastic.com. And there is a countdown for May for some sort of release, or maybe a multiple releases. Who knows? We did reach out to Huck and Paul for further information. They said no comment at this time, but we will certainly contact you when we're ready. So we're just going to sit tight and excited to see what they have in store.
Well, we can't wait. We're excited.
We love Huck.
We love Huck and we love Paul, and Kid Robot is great. And so for them to come back and do something new, I think that our industry needs it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think so too, because I don't think either one of them would be returning to toys if they didn't have something great in mind. They're not they know what it takes to succeed in this kind of strange industry, and they're not just going to come back with something mediocre. I mean, the expectations of them is set pretty high already, especially for Paul making a return. So we'll see. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we can't wait.
They're going to hold on to that being mysterious like right until April, May. Like, we're not going to hear anything.
No.
There's going to be no leaks.
Nor should we. They're doing it exactly right.
Oh, yeah, right? The mystery of the hype.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Do you guys think it's going to come out with just one toy release, or do you think they're maybe working with several artists?
I hope they're working with a few artists. I hope that whether they'll come out of the gates like that, I don't know. Paul's involved. I'm sure they have big plans.
I hope so. What about, speaking about big plans, the Clutter Studio, you guys are getting more into producing toys. You had a few releases last year. What, you want to give us a little sneak peek at what maybe you have in store for this year?
No.
All right, show's over.
What can we tell them about? We're really enjoying making big things right now. Right?
I mean, the thing that's no secret that we're working on is the Sludge Demon with MVH. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a 2 foot by 2 foot blow up of of the original Sludge Demon. So the Sludge Demon is an older figure by Rich, and we basically as part of our studio, we scanned it with our amazing 3D scanning partner, and we've printed it on our new machines, and it's at this point it's all sanded and kind of ready to go. We're about to mold it and getting ready to release it in rotocast resin.
Wow.
Now, why go so big? I know a lot of collectors are running out of room, and there was a trend where everything was going micro and mini, but it seems like even in 2017, I noticed a lot of things are being reincarnated at a larger size. We saw Kusu Vinyl produce Kano's Dragon King as a 20-inch. Unbox produced Paul Kaiju's Mockbat as like a 31-inch toy. And then you guys are going 2 foot by 2 foot. Like, what is the reasoning behind going large scale when a lot of people have less space? It's just cooler to have something big, right?
It's fucking awesome.
Big.
More presence.
Fucking awesome. And who wants to dust all that little shit too? Like, just one big thing.
I think that there's, how to put this, like, not to just go straight for the economics behind it, but the reality is that people who are collecting larger pieces can afford larger.
Yeah, that's true.
And part of our mission has always been to expand the universe of designer toys and bring in more collectors. And the way we see forward to break into a more fine art market is through scale.
Right.
I agree. Yeah, I never thought about that before, but it makes total sense.
It's almost just demanding attention. And I think that, I don't think I'm putting words in Rich's mouth. When you see the Sludge Demon larger, it's even more fucking amazing. You can see how cool the sculpt is. Yeah. It's just rad. And I think that, someone who has no concept of sofubi, someone who has no concept of toys, someone who has no concept of lotteries and kaiju and any of this stuff that we've talked about in materials, all this toy talk kind of melts away when you go like, wow, that's an amazing object.
Right.
Because it just demands attention. And there's a market for that, and there's no reason why somebody wouldn't want to buy a giant Huck G or a giant MVH or a giant Gary Ham or a giant piece to have in their home, and it's completely outside of the toy talk. and it's not unrelated to the toy talk, and it's not unrelated to the toy fetish and the love, but it's just a way we see forward to accomplish the mission.
I like it. That's exciting.
And we're tracking a lot of street artists right now, and we see them selling very large sculptures that come out of the street art world. And it's not, why would they be successful, but someone who comes from the toy world not be successful at that scale? We just think it makes sense.
It's a concept of object versus toy, I guess, right? That we've always considered that putting the toy word on top of an object devalues the object.
I can see that.
Because, the public in general, even art collectors, don't assume that a toy is a collectible piece of art. They assume that that's a play object. In their limited rat brains. Sure. These silly people who can't understand toys.
No.
You don't want to be knocking down the people who are going to be buying
No.
Stuff.
I'm joking. And I'm joking and knocking them. I don't really like to knock anybody. I think that I just talking about knocking people for a second. I love completists.
Yeah.
I love insane toy people who have to have everything. I love people who go into these crazy lotteries and do it. I think it's amazing. And I also love people who want to collect the biggest, craziest, most outlandish art and don't understand what a toy is. So for us, we love these sculpts. We love these objects. We love what these artists make. They're our friends. They're our colleagues. And we love what they do, and we want to see it out there.
Right. So we're working on a ginormous, 8 feet tall piece that we can't really talk about, but it's almost first stage finished, and it sits around the gallery, and it's fucking ginormous.
Yeah, the 2 foot by 2 foot one is small.
Right.
That's child's play.
What we can say about that, so yes, we are making an 8 foot tall.
I'm going to send you a picture right now.
Yeah. So the thing that I can say about it is that it has 5 points of articulation. It's a full action figure. And it's 8 feet.
What are you for real? A fully articulated 8 foot figure?
It's fucking crazy, and it's really cool. And so we're probably going to put it out to the 3D printing press crowd first, because that's how we made it. We scanned an action figure, we've printed it on our machines, and we're in the process right now of doing the surface finishing to it so that it's a complete object, and then from there we can mold it and make multiples as requested, I guess.
Wow, I want to see that mold. You guys are going big or going home, because Teresa, when she first mentioned it was going to be 8 foot, did you think she was joking? I did.
It sounds. Yeah, like in my head, I was looking in my space, and I'm like, okay, maybe that tall. And I'm like, no, wait a minute, I'm not even 6 foot. That's taller than me. Holy crap! It's a big human. It's a giant, tall human.
Okay.
Did you see?
I'm looking. Miranda just sent me a photo, and it's ridiculous. It's
so
awesome.
Photo.
It's completely awesome.
Gary, I'm 5'6".
So Teresa, in the photo, Josh is standing right next to it. It's like one of those photos where you see a normal person standing next to Shaquille O'Neal. It's that big.
It's 2.5 feet taller than me.
It's nuts. It's crazy.
At least.
At the same time, I could see why you called it. I'm gonna say freaking awesome, because I don't I don't like that thing. But if it were an artist I absolutely loved and I had the money for it, heck yes, I'll put a giant 8 foot tall toy human in my house.
The funny thing is, going back to the Huck conversation, there was a giant Huck skull head made that Huck is still upset about, because when it was created, it doesn't fit through doorways.
Yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, so this 8 foot tall monster, if you turn it sideways, goes through a door.
Nice.
I want to put that thing in my front lawn.
Dude,
Awesome.
Right.
No, exactly. And we've also, and if you look on our Clutter Studios feed, you'll see that we've been pressure casting at 12 by 12 by 12, or not 12 by, it's 12 by 12 by 10.
Yeah.
We've been doing some giant pressure casting as well. So we're
Go
really
big or go home. I mean, you were owning that.
Exactly.
it's heavy. There's a video of me pulling something out of a 12 by 12 mold, and it's like I'm wrestling it.
When I was watching the pulls of the mock bat, I mean, the guy's entire arm was in this thing. It was
insane.
Yeah.
So what else do you got going on? So every year you guys have been doing a DTA Dunny show. I don't recall one happening last year. Are you still doing that?
We didn't do one last year. Yeah. We are still going to do that.
Okay.
We didn't do one last year just because we were too crazy.
We
were supposed to do it for New York Comic Con.
There was no time to even organize it.
Like New York Comic Con just kind of like sprung up on us. Like we didn't know it was going to be happening in October like it does every year.
And honestly, we could do an entire podcast dissecting 2017 New York Comic Con.
Oh my God. 2017 was also the death of New York Comic Con for Aaron.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, but I heard you all were just shoved in the back corner, and I didn't hear too much.
What do we call it? It was the way block.
The way block.
Back in the way block.
Yeah, the way block there.
We were in the loading dock.
Yeah.
So they put the designer toy community in the dock.
Which is where it was years ago. But years ago, they didn't put ginormous marketing booths right in front of it, so you couldn't see it.
Where our booth,
where the Clutter
booth used to be, became the Uniqlo booth or the Domo booth.
Domo.
It was the Domo booth. Yeah. And so they sold all of that beautiful space that the block was in to Gillette and Schick and Geico,
Wacom, and Amazon.
And the fucked up thing was, people didn't really seem to care.
Yeah.
Like the fans didn't seem to mind. They were just excited to get like a free stuffed animal from Geico.
Yeah, that people would stand up for the Geico bus shouting like, who wants cheap insurance? And there'd be a whole crowd going like, I do. And they'd be like throwing out plush fucking geckos.
I heard them screaming, who likes money?
Really?
And throwing stuff down.
Oh, Jesus.
And not much, and it was very Running Man.
Yeah. It was weird.
Like it was like we'd crossed some line where people didn't really give a shit what they were experiencing as long as it was sort of free and loud.
You know what it was like being in some weird sci-fi movie from the future. Yeah, no, but not even that. Like the cops.
You probably haven't seen them. You haven't seen Running Man because you're.
I'm talking about the cops. No, I'm 21. I wish. Yeah. No, but the police presence this year was just insane too. I mean, right after the Vegas shootings, so it was good. There was a huge police presence, but there were bomb dogs. There were, there were people like
metal detectors and all.
Yeah, but like lines of police, like outside the front of the Jabbits was just lines of police cars and police with like AK-47s just lined up.
Yeah,
it was weird. Yeah. It was weird.
So what you're saying is you'll be returning next year.
I don't know. It might be the first year.
If everything goes the way we're planning it this year, there will be a designer toy community presence during your Comic-Con outside of the Javits Center.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. No, I was actually going to maybe suggest that because one year during San Diego Comic-Con, a bunch of people did that across the street, and it seemed to work out pretty well for them. But really what you're saying, all this stuff is kind of validating why we need 5 Points Fest and Designer Con.
And also, when you walk the floor as a comic book fan, the vast majority of what's there isn't really that, isn't that exciting.
No.
It's pretty barren. And I'm not talking about the content. The comic book creators are amazing, and the art from the comic book creators is fantastic. Yeah. And we have a lot of friends who do that, and their output is fantastic. But when you actually walk the floor, the vast majority of what's there isn't that.
No. Well, Reed is a giant company, and it's about their bottom line. So if they can put a big marketing booth from Amazon, Echo in there, or a giant Star Wars booth, or a Wacom booth, then why would they want the vintage toy sellers, or why would they want, the independent artist there? Because the independent artist is going to pay peanuts in comparison to what a Wacom booth is going to pay. True. The fans miss out on their experience. At the end, that's what happens. But until the fans start voting with their wallets and stop buying tickets, they're not going to change.
Actually, I got an email.
You did?
From Reed about our participation next year.
Oh, that's nice.
If they want everyone. I don't know. I'm sure Benny's gotten this. I'm sure New Yorkers have gotten this email, but we have to be paid in full by March.
Oh.
Or we don't get booths.
Oh, of course. There you go.
Which is really tough for most of the smaller toy sellers to pony up that far in advance.
That amount of money too. Yeah. Because let's face it, New York Comic Con isn't cheap.
And we scaled back to one booth this year, which was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
We usually have 3 booths, so one was really.
Oh, I didn't know you reduced that much.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if you went back, they'd charge us any less. They were like, you're in the back and it's more money.
Yeah, of course. Sure. So we were talking about the DTA Dunny show that you guys did, and last year you released the DTA Dunny series, and I heard a lot of great, there's a great response to that series, I think. Do you plans for a second series?
There is plans for a second series, but it won't be for another year, I don't think. That was the cycle, right?
Yeah.
I think it's another year before there's another DTA series.
Do you have to wait until the next custom show that you do and the designs will be selected from that series? Or
no, I think it's more about Kid Robot's schedule and not just putting the same series out.
Yeah, and I don't think they don't have any interest in repeating something so that it feels repetitive. Yeah. I think that they want to do things that feel fresh. So when people have kind of forgotten to an extent, that not forgotten, but sort of when there's a desire again.
Right.
I think that's when it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I imagine that something like that would come out in 2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you expect that the next series won't follow the same idea of all the designs being based off customs? Will it be a different?
Probably will follow the same kind of vein, but I don't know right this second.
I mean, and there's still a ton of amazing designs from the DTA Dunny shows that haven't been made. So.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll plan the next custom show for this year. Maybe we'll do it at 5 Points actually. That would be awesome.
That would be a great venue for it. That just allow more fans to be able to see some of those amazing customs. Well, you guys kind of did that at New York Comic Con one year, right? You had a Dunny event there too.
We did, and it really worked really well. That was the first time we did a custom show at a convention, and my experience of custom shows at conventions have always been a little it didn't really work. But that one really worked at New York Comic Con. So
the space was great. The work was great.
Yeah.
And it sold like gangbusters.
I think also because the Dunny is such a recognizable figure, across not just the designer toy market, but outside of that really helped the New York Comic Con venue because people understood the Dunny. So it was an easy way to transition into a custom. It was an easy way to explain to people that didn't know our world. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, honestly, it seems like in general, custom shows during events is becoming a bigger and bigger thing. Because I mean, remember how many there were at DesignerCon?
You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you say this was my first DesignerCon in 2017, and it was fucking awesome. I'd never been.
I can't believe you've never been. That's really shocked me when I heard that.
Crazy, right? But kids and all that stuff meant that I never.
But
went.
I mean, Miranda tells stories about Toy Fair and what Toy Fair was like back in the day.
Used to be. Yeah.
So Miranda has a whole OG experience around.
Toy Fair was like a giant party. It wasn't even like a convention because, Toy Fair isn't open to the public. So it was such a vastly different experience back in, 2004, 2005, 2006. What that was like being on, at Toy Fair with all, Strange Co. and Kid Robot and Friends with You. And
Miranda has a really amazing set of experiences from the beginning of the scene. And then, unfortunately, in your life experience, right when DesignerCon started becoming the thing, Miranda went into baby making mode. Yeah. So she's just coming out of it. So it's totally seems weird, but it's
it's a two-way street, though, Josh. You sort of helped with that.
Yeah, it's true. She went to DesignerCon before.
Well, as I was saying, putting things inside of other things is just human nature.
Okay, there you go.
But ZonaCon was awesome. I loved it. You know, they do a fantastic job. It's a great event.
Yeah, Ben kills it.
Yeah, he does. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're making a move next year as well, so Anaheim.
Yeah.
So that looking forward to that too, because they've outgrown the space and it's time for them to move on. And next year's gonna be awesome as well.
Which is only, you know, it's a good demonstration for everybody that everything's growing. That's just fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and do you think that growth of the conventions is translated into the community and the sales of designer toys and all? And do you feel like it seems like 2017 was a significantly better year?
It was significantly bigger than the previous year. I think last year there was a lot of scared people in the market. You know, the whole Trump thing really threw everything into question last year. And so there was a big time there where people didn't know what to do with their money, I think. It definitely picked up towards the end of the year. People were like, fuck it, just spend my money anyway.
And the amount of releases, I mean, I think it's largely due to the Asian market, but so many releases last year.
Yeah, I was going to say the Asian thing for sure.
What do you think? What are your predictions for the next year? What do you think we're going to see?
Going to see next year. Really big pieces, 8 feet tall.
We'll see that.
I think we're going to see more small sofubi.
Yeah, the micros.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, so like the people getting into like the $20 under market more.
When we do a show with micros, like it everybody loves micros, not just the toy collectors. You know, people will just walk into the gallery and be like, oh, this is awesome, this tiny little thing. And it's an easy access point for people to jump in and start collecting from. So the micros will open us up to a big.
How big are we talking when you say micros? Are you talking like the finger puppet size? Maybe
yeah.
1 inch?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would be an example? I'm trying to picture one, like a micro sofubi.
Have you seen any of Rampage Toys little guys? So he has like, you know, cats in cars, people in cars.
Yeah.
I think what's I'm like getting tired now. It's like 11:45, so names of things are starting to escape me.
I'm kind of thinking of what something that maybe you can think of, Teresa, is the ice cream dino. You know how they kind of did that super mini micro version?
Yep.
I think that's the kind of size we're talking about. Something that's really tiny.
Okay.
Or like the mini Logans, you know, the 1.5 and under size.
Yeah, I mean,
the badge figures.
And again, small, right? You know, it comes back to economics. Like, that's a great way for people to, you know, a creator can make a lot of them and sell a lot of them, and it helps move a product from a store. You know, so buy a bunch of things for, you know, $10, $20, maybe buy something else. Mm-hmm. So it's the maturation of people, you know, trying to pay their mortgages.
Yeah. You know, I'm all for it because I like small toys. So.
Yeah, but you got too many as it is. I think you and I both need to upgrade to the 8-foot toys.
Yeah, but then we'll have like a room full of them,
surrounded by micro figures.
Hell yeah, I would love to walk into the house one day and just have 4-foot, 8-foot, you know, beautiful art objects displayed in the house. That'd be amazing. But for now, it's just smaller toys.
No. Hey guys, I have to bounce. I've been texting.
Okay.
But Josh can stay, but the baby's awake, so I've got to go.
Okay.
Do you need me to like?
All right, thanks for joining, Miranda. You can kind of wrap it up if you guys want to.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get you guys back on when it's closer to 5 Points Fest and all your other things going on. We can talk to you guys again in a few months.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks, Josh and Miranda.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Keep buying toys, everybody. We love you.
Peace.
All right, have a good night. Bye. There we go.
Gary, we didn't do any outros. Where are we supposed to find them? Should we do their outro?
Sure, we'll do their outro. So, Josh and Miranda, you want to play them? You want to be them?
I'm not going to play them.
Come on, we'll do some role play. I'll be Josh. You be Miranda.
Right. I can't do her accent though.
Oh no, you got to do the Brit accent.
All right, what is a British accent? Do it for me, and I'll try to copy you.
I'm not doing that.
Am I British?
I'd be like, cheerio. You can find our website, cluttergallery.com.
Do I sound like Miranda?
You sound quite proper.
I don't think I do. I don't know how to sound like it.
Well, try a spot of tea, lovely. Every time. We sound terrible. All right, why don't you just say it as Teresa?
Okay. So,
boring.
Oh my gosh. Well, since Miranda and Josh had to drop, we wanted to make sure you knew where to find them. So if you want, you can check them out at cluttermagazine.com. And they're also on Instagram at Clutter Magazine, as well as at 5 Points Fest if you want to check out their event that'll be coming up. It's June this time, right, Gary?
Yep. June 2nd and 3rd.
Okay. And then, if you want to shop Clutter, it's just shop.cluttermagazine.com. So
cool. And where can people find you, Teresa?
Well, of course, if you all want to find me, check me out on Instagram. My username is tmhawk24.
And I am Gary Ham. You can find me at superham.com or Gary Ham on Instagram. This has been the first episode of Season 3 of the Marsham Toy Hour. We hope to do this probably not every week this season, but we'll do our best. So until our next transmission, we're signing off. Cheerio.
Bye.